Hello, it's Marek. Welcome to Mdrives. Today I want to talk about the problem I've experienced with my M2, and it's a very rare problem apparently, so rare that I actually couldn't find anything on internet which would be related to that issue in relation to this engine. The problem is apparently quite common with S55 engines, but not N55, so it is either the first in the world or it's at least the first in the world which is mentioned on the internet, because I just couldn't find anything, and even BMW told me that they never heard about N55 with this issue. But before I tell you more about it, let me jump in the car, turn on the engine and warm up a bit. So it's nice to be able to hear a nice and healthy engine. Unfortunately, about a year ago, it still didn't sound like that. So about 2 years ago, I've realized that when I start my engine and I don't drive my car immediately and I just let it run, after about 3 minutes, when it's completely cold, it started tapping. And at the beginning, it wasn't that loud. I wasn't that worried about it. I even mentioned it to BMW and they said they couldn't hear anything, everything's fine, etc. But I think over the following 6 months, I've started noticing it more and more. And I started getting really worried because it became quite loud. So basically what would happen, I would start the engine, the car would be completely cold, and when the oil temperature would reach about 25-28 Celsius degrees, I would start hearing engine tapping from the one side of the engine. And that was becoming louder and louder, being loudest around 45-50 degrees. And then when the temperature of oil would get to about 55, that sound would start disappearing. And if you would start engine again at that point, you would not hear it because it was related to the temperature of the engine. So I went to BMW and I said, look, there is a problem, I think, because it's tapping, it's not normal. I've researched on the internet, couldn't find anything on this engine. However, I found a problem with S55, which sounds very similar, if not identical, to the problem I'm experiencing with my car. So apparently with S55s, some cars left the factory with the exhaust camshaft torqued incorrectly, which over time would lead to tapping when the engine is getting warmer, which would then disappear. So exactly what I had with my N55. So I suggested that to BMW, left it with my local dealer, picked it up next day. We couldn't hear anything. What a surprise. So I took the car back and obviously it was still there. So I recorded a video which I'm going to show you now, which demonstrates exactly how it happens. I've recorded the whole cycle. Obviously I'm going to speed it up for you so you're not listening to a 7-minute engine warm-up, because that would be just too boring. But yeah, have a listen because it's obvious that there was something wrong with the engine. So, as you just heard, it definitely didn't sound right. The engine was tapping loudly from the exhaust camshaft area. So, I went back to BMW and I presented them with this video, and they said, right, okay, we'll have a look at it. So, they had it overnight, and then they came back to me and said, right, we think it's a problem with a hydraulic tapper. Unfortunately, we have no parts, they are all on back order. It will take some time. We will let you know once the parts are in. It's safe to drive the car like that because it's disappearing when the engine's warmed up. So yeah, don't be worried, you can carry on driving the car. In the meantime, I changed my oil, and unfortunately I found some metal shavings in it. Nothing dramatic, but there was, I would say, in a filter, when I opened it up and spread it, I've seen probably about 20 to 30 pieces of metal, which got me really worried. Apparently in N55 metal shavings, it's not something uncommon, and there is a tolerance. So I kept the filter, and I waited patiently for BMW to come back to me. After about 3 months of not having any news or any date, any commitment from BMW to any dates, I started to be very impatient because my warranty was running out. So I went to BMW instead of calling them, and I said, look, I want the information now. I want to know when this car will be fixed, because in 2 months time or 3 months time my warranty will be gone, and then I will be left with the problem. And they said, well, unfortunately the mechanic who diagnosed your car left. The manager who he was reporting to left. And at the moment we have no mechanics who are qualified to work on the engines. I mean, you couldn't make it up. I understand it. It was post-COVID time or end of COVID times. Apparently loads of dealers, not just BMW, were experiencing the same issues with mechanics leaving, and they were like gold dust. So they needed some time to train up new people, etc. So they said, look, go to the dealer at Leeds, because they have mechanics, they can work on engines, they will help you. So another 2 months gone before I could get an appointment with the courtesy car, dropped off my car, and I had a call the same afternoon. You can pick up your car, there's nothing wrong with it. Again, the same story. They did not either leave the car long enough to cool down, or they basically started the car and drove it in, and before they started looking at it, it was too warm to actually be able to hear the problem. So I picked the car and I said, look, I'm not happy. I want the car to be diagnosed because I know it's not right. So I've recorded another video for them and send it to them, and I said, please, can you have a look at the car again? So another 2 months, the car gone back in, and they looked at it, and the same story, there's nothing wrong with the car. And at that point I went absolutely ballistic at them. I said, I was very unpleasant, let's call it that way, and I said, look, I want to speak to your mechanic, I'm not taking it, the car is not right. So the mechanic came out and we sat together at the table, which was great, really nice guy. I played him the video and he said, you know what, it just doesn't sound right. And I said, yeah, I know, that's what I'm trying to tell everyone. He said straight away, you know what, it's really weird because it sounds like exhaust camshaft problem at S55. And I said, well, this is what I was saying all the time to guys at my local dealer and to your guys, and nobody was paying attention to what I'm saying. So he said, no, definitely we need to book it in and we need to open the engine and diagnose the problem. So finally a hope, finally a light at the end of the tunnel. So that happened. Again, I waited a bit for another appointment because I needed a courtesy car, and it meant to go in for a week. So yes, I left my car with the dealer. They opened the engine next day. They actually diagnosed it, and they said yes, it is a problem with that particular car. We need to actually ask BMW Germany what to do, because it's the first we ever heard about this problem in N55. And BMW Germany responded and said that treat the case exactly the same like with S55. So they open up the engine, they retorque the exhaust camshaft. Luckily, the exhaust camshaft was not scored or anything. So they put it all back together, retorque it to the spec, called me back. I picked up the car, and the problem's gone, completely gone. I actually shown them the oil filter as well, which in response to, I got a letter from BMW saying that this is within the spec. There is expectation that the field will catch some metal shavings, and the sample they had looked not unusual. So that put me a bit, you know, at ease, and but I still waited a couple of months before I would change oil again to check it myself. So I'm happy to report that since then the car is running absolutely fine. I never ever had the tapping again, and the fix was done exactly a year ago. Since then I've changed my oil, and I checked the filter. Last time when I checked it, I found 4 very small specks of metal in a filter, which is nothing compared to what I found there before, and I believe that there is no problem with it. So yes, that's the story, which is a story with a happy ending. However, if I wouldn't be so persistent, if I wouldn't be pushing dealers to look deeper into a problem, if I wouldn't support them with the evidence in form of videos, I doubt this problem would be resolved before the warranty, BMW warranty ended. So I'm sure they have many people coming to them and thinking, oh, I've heard something about this on internet, I think my car might have it. Maybe that's why they you know, looking at you with disbelief when you're telling them about the problems and something you found on the internet. I get that. So this video isn't a rant on a BMW, it's more of a sharing the story about what I've experienced, what I believe it's the first one out there on the internet, because I definitely not heard about any other N55 with this issue. So if you're experiencing this, it is that, and it can be fixed. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and you comment if you experience similar issues, and I'll see you shortly in the next one. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Do widzenia.